All right. Well, good morning. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe-Truckee Sunday morning live streaming service. Welcome to you, those that are here in the sanctuary, and to those of you who are online on this Memorial Day weekend. My name is Rev Pam Brandman. I'm the senior minister here at the center. We know that there are many paths to God, but they all lead to oneness and in love. And wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. We start our service with our receptivity statement that you'll see on the screen, and you can read along with me. I am here by divine appointment. Something I am about to hear applies to my life. I am open, receptive, and willing to explore the possibilities. Our center's purpose is love. Our vision is embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. So our musician this morning is someone that I think his own purpose is aligned with ours, and so that's why we're so grateful to have him here today. His name is Tuck Wilson, and it's Memorial Day weekend, so he is in town, and if you would like to see him, more of Tuck, you can go over to Grand Lavacan tonight and to the Cedar House pub, and he will be performing there. So, but now it's my pleasure to welcome Tuck Wilson.
Thank you, Reverend Pam. Come on. There we go. Well, the original version of this song would be more than appropriate on Memorial Day weekend. But I felt the need this week to do a slight modification. Where have all the flowers gone? A long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? A long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Young girls have picked them, every one. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the young girls gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young girls gone? A long time ago. Where have all the young girls gone? Gone to be mothers, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? And where have all the children gone? Long time passing. Where have all the children gone? Long time ago. Where have all the children gone? Gone to graveyards far too young. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn? Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time passing. Where have all the graveyards gone? A long time ago. Where have all the graveyards gone? Gone the flowers, everyone. When will we ever learn? When will we ever learn?
You know, the sentiments are something that we're all mourning this week. I think everyone is finding some reason, you know, whether it's the children in Uvalde this week, or Ukraine, which is ongoing, or Buffalo a few weeks ago. There's so much to mourn, and so Memorial Day, it's we're remembering not only the soldiers but all of those that we have lost too young. Well, next I'd like to welcome our practitioner, Carol Dalbon. She's one of our beloved practitioners that have the high consciousness that elevates this center and our hearts to sense the presence, the power and presence of God. And so Carol will be providing our special reading and our invocation this morning. And Carol's in Sacramento.
We're having trouble with the muting for some reason this morning. Let's see. Our theme for the month is everyday wonder, emotions, and the talk today is low tide or high tide. And today's reading is from the Book of Joy, Lasting Happiness in a Changing World, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, with Douglas Abrams. Sadness is, in many ways, the emotion that causes us to reach out to one another in support and solidarity. The Archbishop expressed it quite wonderfully when he explained, we don't really get close to others if our relationship is made up of unending hunky-doriness. It is the hard times, the painful times, the sadness and the grief that knit us more closely together. A funeral is perhaps the most obvious example of this weaving of our relationships and community together. But even tears are a signal to others that we need comfort and kindness, that we are vulnerable and need help. I often receive questions, the Dalai Lama said, from those whose dear friend or parent or even child has passed away. They ask me, what should I do? I share with them from my own experience. My beloved Maine teacher, who gave me my monk's ordination, died, and I was really grief-stricken. While he was alive, I always felt like he was a solid rock behind me that I could lean on. I really felt very, very sad and full of grief when he passed away. The way through the sadness and grief that comes from great loss is to use it as motivation and to generate a deeper sense of purpose. When my teacher passed away, I used to think that now I have even more responsibility to fulfill his wishes. So my sadness translated into more enthusiasm, more determination. I have told those who had lost their dear friend or family member, it is very sad, but this sadness should translate into more determination to fulfill their wishes. If the one you have lost could see you and you are determined and full of hope, they would be happy. With the great sadness of the loss, one can live even more meaningful life. Sadness and grief are, of course, natural human responses to loss. But if your focus remains on the loved one you have just lost, the experience is less likely to lead to despair. In contrast, if your focus while grieving remains mostly on yourself, what am I going to do now? How can I cope? Then there is a greater danger of going down the path of despair and depression. So again, so much depends on how we respond to our experience of loss and sadness. And it's difficult for me to even not be sad when I'm reading that. But we know that we are divinely guided and protected by that spirit within. Always there, always present, available to everyone. And as the holiness did say, as we focus on what they would want us to do, or what we can do in the world to help change this tragedy that may have just happened and has happened, that we know that we can move on in a more productive way and loving way. So I know that we are all guided by this spirit within that we can refer to whenever we need to. And that brings us happiness and joy, peace, love. All of that comes to us. So I know as this weekend we were honoring those who have died from protecting our country. And so we honor those people and in gratitude for all they have done and for to the families in memory of those people. And today we know we have a service that will bring us much inspiration, that our talk today by Reverend Pam and our music by Tuck Wilson all brings us closer to each other, that unity that we feel when we come to our center. So I know that we will all feel that in our own personal way. And I'm grateful for that, knowing it is so for everyone. And so it is. And so now I do invite Tuck Wilson back to sing again.
Well, Memorial Day is about remembering those who've died in our wars, but I think today we're extending it a little bit and including those who are still dying in our current wars. And I'd like to include the children who are being killed in our domestic culture wars. So this is a song of mourning that Eric Clapton wrote after losing his young son. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Would you help me stand if I saw you in heaven? I'll find a way through night and day, 'cause I know I just can't stay here in heaven. Well, time can bring you down, time can bend your knees, bend your knees. And time will break your heart, leave you begging, please, begging, please. Beyond the door, there's peace, I'm sure, 'cause I know there'll be no more tears in heaven. Would you know my name If I saw you in heaven, would it be the same? If I saw you in heaven, I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. 'Cause I know I don't belong here in heaven.
We don't belong in heaven. We believe that in Science of Mind that heaven is a state of mind, and we're all here, that we're all one, and there is no time and space. And so we take this moment of silence just to remember those that have passed over. We bless them. We give gratitude for the life and joy that they brought. And we bless this planet to learn from their sacrifice that we do find a way forward. We cut through the hate, we cut through the violence, we cut through war, and we find that natural love and unity that is a part of who we are. And so it is. You know, that this week I turned on the news and I was surprised, well, not really, and I was saddened mostly to see coverage of another school shooting, this time in Uvalde, Texas. You know, 19 children, 2 adults, and the shooter were all dead. The shooter was a suffering 18-year-old who had failed to graduate high school. His angry calls for help and love were not recognized for the level of desperation that he felt for several years. The assault rifle and pistol were purchased legally, in a country that chooses to live in fear and defend itself with millions of firearms rather than deal with the true ills of our social framework. Even the local police were afraid to confront the young man in combat protective gear and with his AK-15 assault rifle. I sat stunned. Sadness and grief just washed over me. I recall the first time that I felt such sadness over a school shooting. Columbine High School, 1999. It's a newer high school that was near the high school that I went to in Colorado. And it had been created out of that school. And so some of my classmates had children at that high school during that event. And so there were 12 students and a teacher killed. And with all that pain and suffering of the surviving families felt close at hand to me. You know, this wasn't some distant happening. It was happening to me and my friends, people I cared about. No, the Columbine High School massacre cut deep into my own soul. My heart was broken. And it happens again each time that we hear about another shooting. Sandy Hook Elementary, Parkland High School, a Buffalo supermarket, Uvalde, and many more. You know, according to NPR, there have been 212 mass shootings where 4 or more people were shot in the United States so far in 2022. 27 of those shootings have been at schools. The Pew Research Center reported that of the 45,222 gun-related murders in the U.S. in 2020, 54% were suicides, 43% were murders. Only 611, or less than 2% of those 2020 gun-related deaths were part of the mass shootings, according to Gun Violent Action. We're all saddened and we grieve for those souls lost in Uvalde. But what about all these other lives that have been cut short by gun violence? and through the war in Ukraine and elsewhere on our planet, all of the soldiers that we memorialize here on Memorial Day weekend, right? J. Van Bavel, a professor of psychology and neuroscience at New York University, was quoted in a recent USA Today article. He said, "It's easier to mobilize anger and hope, but anger dissipates and hope wanes. Grief is paralyzing." You know, it's easy to be paralyzed by the deep sadness and grief, our low tide of emotions, and lock those in with a sense of helplessness, hopelessness, and despair, depression. Right? The current mental health epidemic among young people reveals that pervasiveness of those feelings in our society. Gun control advocates have developed learned helplessness after the repeated pattern of enthusiasm for gun control after Columbine High School, but it ended with no legislation. It happened again after Sandy Hook Elementary and after the Orlando nightclub massacre. Again and again. Learned helplessness. How do we find our way to the high tide of hope again? How do we change this pattern? Well, it begins by allowing that wave of emotions to wash over us and pass. We allow divine love and compassion for ourselves and for others to fill our hearts and comfort our hurting souls. Love is the soothing and healing balm. And then, when we have found ourselves on dry land again, we can choose to follow Spirit's call to be a presence for love and healing. When we remember that we are all part of that one life that is God, we can set our intention, a new intention, to change the repeating pattern of inaction and allow the power and the presence of universal spirit to create a new world in us and through us and as all people. Together we can make a stand for a world fueled by love and compassion rather than by hate and fear. So today let's talk a little bit more about how we move from low tide to high tide. You know, sadness, we have a slide for that, I think. Sadness is a primary emotion that we all feel at some time or another. You know, when we're sad, we seem down in melancholy. Our heart hurts. Our face shows it. And when we experience grief, it feels like the situation is beyond our control. With grief comes loss and an extreme sense of distress and sorrow. In the book, The Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz says, "All the sadness and drama you have lived in your life was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. Our whole dream of hell is based on that." So, what are the causes for sadness? Some are simpler. Things don't go our way. We don't get our heart's desire. We all know children, when they don't get that special toy they wanted, or we can remember ourselves doing that, they'll throw a tantrum and be very sad and teary-eyed. When we're older, it's when we don't get the new job we wanted, or maybe an effort fails that we put a lot of energy into, right? It can also be a more devastating loss, a relationship that ends, a love interest, or a dear friend. We lose a job. It could be grief because we've lost a loved one, parent, spouse, or child. You know, country music thrives on all of that loss that it sings about. And there is also trauma, such as an accident, murdering the children. Could be a physical loss, the ability to walk or to see. COVID has kept us locked down for 2 years and more, and we still have limitations and fear. But it's not just our own trauma. You know, one of the most touching stories of the week has been the husband of one of the Uvalde teachers. 2 days after the tragedy, he had just gone to the school to put flowers on the memorial that they had there. And when he got home, his family was there, and he had a heart attack and passed away. He died of a broken heart. It was too much. Right? So as we go through our grief and our sadness, we can get locked into that downward cycle and just turns further and further inward. Our world gets smaller and smaller, and the lack of control leads to despair. When we become depressed, we withdraw. There's that trio of guilt and blame and shame that it's kind of a vicious circle that keeps us focused inward and feeling responsible. We need to learn to forgive ourselves and make amends if appropriate. Forgiveness is important. We've all heard of survivor's guilt. It's very real. In Columbine, there was one student who was on the second floor, nowhere close to any of the things that happened at the time. They just heard about it and mourned the loss of their friends. But 2 years later, one of those students committed suicide. Just knowing this, feeling responsible that I should have been there, I should have saved somebody. So how do we move from low tide to high tide? The key is to be fully present, to be gentle and compassionate with ourselves and with others, and to forgive ourselves. Scott Aubrey says, I am in touch with any sadness that may be resident in my heart. I have the courage to let myself feel it. If we keep it locked up, it's just going to stay there locked up, and the shell gets stronger and stronger. And so we have to have the courage to look at it and feel it and be present. Richard Rohr, in his book Falling Upward, says, inability or refusal to feel their deep sadness takes the form of aimless anger. To get to the bottom of their anger is to face the ocean of sadness underneath it. An ocean of sadness. When we stuff our feelings, they fester, and it becomes anger or depression. It gets locked in, and our bodies embody those feelings. And it comes out as a broken heart or an ache or a pain or an illness. Our bodies, if we don't let those feelings out, they go within. They affect not only our psyche, but our very body and soul. And so we need to find a place of love and compassion for ourselves and for others. One of the things that in our society that I would like to see change is the saying, big boys don't cry. Well, yes, they do. One of the most admirable qualities of my husband is that he is willing to cry and share his feelings, to live his feelings. We have to be easy and gentle with ourselves and allow glimmers of hope and love to peek through. And maybe that glimmer becomes a light to bring us forward. Love is the healing balm. The love language can be very different for different people. Perhaps it's talking with a friend or a loved one for a while they listen and let us empty out our pain. Perhaps it's some who simply holds us or rubs our back. For some, it's a solo walk on the beach or in the woods, listening to the sounds of nature. The trees, the water, the birds, chipmunks, and the bears all have great healing powers as we watch them, listen to them, be present. Perhaps for some people it's sinking into a great piece of music or literature, making art, perhaps a bubble bath or a massage. Whatever brings peace to you, to your body and soul, but let the feelings flow. Do not give up on living. I love this book of joy. It was written after an April 2015 meeting when Desmond Tutu came to visit the Dalai Lama for his 80th birthday at his home in Dharamsala, India. And the question for the 5-day meeting was, how do we find joy in the face of life's inevitable suffering? Right? And so there's a man named Joseph Forgest that they quoted, and he talks about the benefits of sadness. People, he's a psychologist, and he says when people are sad, they're more focused. Depression collapses our circle of concern, while sadness may widen it. right? So the grief is focused inward, and the sadness, we join with other people to work through that sadness, to let it out, right? And that is what the Archbishop noticed, is that it's important to reach out to others in support and solidarity. Joy and sorrow can fasten together when we are united. Hedonic happiness is the kind of happiness that only allows positive states. I have to feel good all of the time. I just ignore all of these feelings. Well, no. That you can't banish those negative feelings like sadness just to exile. That's a spiritual bypass. They're a part of life. They're a part of what gives us our strength. Eudaimonic happiness is deeper and longer lasting. It's characterized by self-understanding, meaning and growth, and acceptance of including life's sufferings, sadness and grief. We're all going to pass at some point in time. We're all going to lose someone at some point in time. So how do we heal the sadness and grief? Well, we focus on the loved one that was lost instead of mostly on ourselves. In the reading, the Dalai Lama talked about, if you continually ask yourself, what am I going to do now? And how can I cope? Woe is me. When we're really sad for ourselves, a kind of a selfish sadness. That's the path that leads us deeper into despair and depression. But coming together, letting it out, experiencing it is what grows us and connects us with spirit and each other. There's a famous Buddhist story the Dalai Lama tells, and it's about a woman whose child died. Her grief was inconsolable, and she carried her dead child with her throughout the land, went to everyone asking, can you heal my child? And she came to the Buddha and asked him to help her. Buddha told her that he would help her if she would collect mustard seeds for the medicine. Oh, yes, she agreed quickly. And then Buddha explained that the mustard seeds must come from a house that has known no death. So the woman visited each house in the land in search of the seeds that might heal her son. But she discovered that there was no house that had not suffered the loss of a parent or a spouse or a child. And seeing that her grief was not unique, she was able to bury her child in the forest and release her grief. Grief and loss are a part of life. In the reading this morning, Dalai Lama talked about his main teacher that died, and he was, this person had been his rock while he went through all of his training and ordination. And he said, the way through the sadness and grief that comes from great loss is to use it as motivation and generate a deeper sense of purpose. One can live an even more meaningful life. And he had. There's a psychic named James von Prague, and I don't make a habit of going to visit people like this in big groups. I went to this evening. It was in 2019, and there was 250 people that were there to listen to him talk about, and a few people were going to get called out, and someone in the audience about few select people, and talk to their loved ones on the other side. But for some reason or other, I just felt like I had to go. And so when I was there, my deceased mother was one of the souls that came. She had died about 7 years before, I guess. And I didn't recognize her at first because as he described the woman, she was frail in a wheelchair. She had red hair. She dyed her hair at the end. She loved it. She was 89. And this is how she was just before she died. That's how she thought I would recognize her. But I remember her as much younger and vivacious and all the things that she did. But when she did come, she was determined to tell me how proud she was that I had graduated ministerial school and that I was coming here to CSL Tahoe-Truckee. That had always been her dream for me. Even before I decided to go to ministerial school when she died. But she knew. She really knew up there. And so we didn't always get along because she was always so stubborn and independent. Now, my mother has two daughters who are both stubborn and independent. And I wonder why, right? But she loved me. And she was proud of how I had carried out our family's values and beliefs, right? I was living part of her dream and her dream for our family. Sue Morter in the book, The Energy Code, says, if we can start to think of emotions as energies, as effects to anchor or expand, we won't be afraid of sadness. There's many American stories about taking action after sadness. One that I've always thought of is the organization MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It was started in 1980 by Candy Leitner after her daughter was killed by a drunk driver. Within 3 years, MAD had over 2 million members. Their efforts led to increased penalties in each state for drunk driving. A national law was signed by then-President Ronald Reagan to increase the national minimum drinking age to 21. Right? She made a difference for her daughter. Gabby Giffords, in July 2022, there's a documentary coming out called Gabby Giffords Won't Back Down. It covers the extraordinary recovery of this former congresswoman who was Gabby Giffords from an assassination attempt in 2011 that left her partially paralyzed and with a speech impairment. But she can walk now, and she can speak slowly, but understandably. Her determination is still there. She now fights for gun control in the organization that she has founded with her husband, Mark Kelly. It's called Giffords now. And her husband is a former astronaut and current U.S. Senator from Arizona, running for re-election. The Parkland High School 2018 school survivors from that shooting there, they founded a gun violence activist group called March for Our Lives. And since then, Florida Republican legislators, were able to come together and pass gun control legislation. Congress has yet to do so. But March for Our Lives is sponsoring a national day to protest in support of national legislation on June 11th, everywhere. And so hopefully we can find someplace here locally that we can support that. Maybe Buffalo and Uvalde are the latest tragedies that can spur us to action, right? Britain, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Norway have all passed gun restriction laws. They had a culture of gun ownership, but after those laws were passed, their gun violence statistics for mass killings, homicides, and suicide have all dropped dramatically. Right? It can be done. Amanda Gorman, you probably remember the former teenage poet laureate. She read the wonderful poem on the inauguration day for Joe Biden. And she's written a new poem recently that she put out on Twitter. And it urged people to move beyond the mourning of the pandemic and this latest tragedy, to come together to create a new day. It's called New Day's Lyric, and I'm just going to read some excerpts from it. May this be the day we come together. Mourning, we come to mend. Withered, we come to weather. Torn, we come to tend. Battered, we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. Steadily we vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal. Even if we never get back to normal, someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove cure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. These fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we're now awake. In our hearts, once altogether beaten, now altogether beat. Come, look up with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. For wherever we come together, we will forever overcome. My first husband, Patrick, died after we had been together for 25 years. Our children were 12 and almost 8. My stepdaughter, Nicole, was 25. Pat had been battling both cancer and brain cancer for lung cancer for almost 5 years. He waited for Nicole to arrive after she had graduated college, and she came to the hospital to serenade him. She sang Landslide, one of his favorite songs that had been recorded by both Fleetwood Mac and the Dixie Chicks. He died just a few days later. I was sad and heartbroken. We all were. I did my best to get the kids fed into school and do those things, and some days I just sat after they were gone. Some days my son refused to go to school. But they didn't, life wasn't easy. I was sad. My soulmate and life partner was gone. I was working part-time on contracts since I had put so much time and love into caring for my ailing husband and children. One girlfriend came over about a month after he passed, and she just held me while I cried and sobbed. Another girlfriend came over and did the dishes. There were no clean dishes or pots and pans to cook dinner. She didn't say a word. She just looked at that. I think it took her 2 or 3 hours. But that's what I needed. I'd had no energy left for anything else. I had to move through the grief so I could learn to live a new life without him. All of us were in therapy or grief counseling. I worked with a practitioner. We did not get through our sadness alone. Right? And little by little, the waves of sadness became shallower and further apart. I was able to resume working full-time after about 3.5 years. Life wasn't really normal for 5 years. As the 5-year anniversary approached, I could see a path forward that was new. There were things that I wanted to do and places I wanted to go that Patrick couldn't go. He wasn't willing to go. And then Michael Brandman and I got reacquainted, meeting at a professional conference. Michael's first wife had died from cancer a year earlier. It was instant kismet for Michael, but I was careful to take things slow. I'd been through a lot of pain. But we did quickly find out that our bucket lists overlapped by about 90%. Pretty good fit. So Michael stepped in and he helped me raise my 2 children who were living at home. I met his 5 sons, the youngest of whom was in college. They were mourning too. We worked to get my home repaired. I learned to laugh again. Michael had been a Christian Scientist since he was a teenager, but he was overjoyed to attend his first Center for Spiritual Living with me. What we believe fits his beliefs even better. You see, love is a soothing balm. I was healing. He was healing. And we created a new life together. At our wedding, we had a soloist sing a song called "You Loved Me Back to Life," as we smiled in each other's loving eyes. It's a song, one of my most cherished songs, although it's not in the wide repertoire of the world, but you loved me back to life. And that's what we can do for each other. And all of these losses that we have, we can make a stand together to let love and light heal our world, to make a stand, to change that pattern and allow that divine pattern that is always there within each and every heart and soul and courageously step forward to create a new path, a new intention of life and more life. Let love be manifest in the world. Let's take this to prayer. And so in this stillness, our hearts aching, we sense that power and presence of the one life that is God, that is infinite love, infinite peace, infinite joy, that is unshakable through it all, that calls us forward, that reminds us that we are made of love. That is the divine essence of who we are. It is that beacon of light that calls us to step forward, to part the clouds and let that light and love reach our own hearts. And the sadness slowly melts. The healing balm of love does its work. And as we move through this process, we mourn all of the grief and loss in our lives, all the things that small and great. We mourn the soldiers that have died for our country to protect us. We honor them this Memorial Day weekend. We bless our loved ones that have been a part of our lives. And yes, we have the grief of loss, but we also have the wonderful memories of the love and the joy that we have shared together. And we are grateful. And we remember the essence of who we are, how we became something greater because we have known them. And we stand taller and listen to that inner voice of spirit within us, expressing itself in and through and as each one of us. And we see around us kindred souls that are also stepping up. And we gather hand in hand, arm in arm, and we move forward to change the world. We change our intention on the inside, and we allow universal spirit to manifest it everywhere, for that is how it works. We plant the seed, and God takes over. And we listen and do, each one of us, what is ours to do, what is ours to say, what is ours to not do, what is ours to start doing, what is ours to believe, what is ours to share. And so we see the little shifts happening. And what had been learned hopelessness is now replaced by confident and determined change, of willingness to act, a willingness to speak, a willingness to have the dawn of a new day. We feel it warming our hearts and souls. We feel it warming the whole planet. We feel it uniting everyone everywhere, regardless of what side of whatever conflict they are on. It is that one life, that one heart that beats in all of us as one. And so we find that inner peace. We find that inner unity that is now manifesting also on the outside. It is the dawn of a new day. We are grateful to see it and know it and experience it, that its day has come. We rejoice. We accept this as our truth, as the truth of the divine life that loves us all, that lives as all of us as one. And so we release these words, this hope now turned to a confident knowing, to the law, which makes it so. And together we say, and so it is.
Well, Reverend Pam shot me an email and asked if I could learn You Left Me Back to Life for this morning, and unfortunately, I just didn't have enough lead time to sit down and type out the words and figure the chord structure, etc., etc., etc. So I'm not able to do that this morning, but the message was about healing, and I had already picked out a song that happened to be about healing. So, give me just a second, please. I forgot to take my iPad with me so I could tee up the next song. And it's hiding. Ha! There's been a lot of talk here in the last few weeks, as there always seems to be after recent mass shootings, about mental health. You know, at some time, we all need someone to lean on. We need to reach out. And so if you're struggling, don't hesitate to reach out. You'll find that somebody is there willing to support you, and it may be that the support comes from an area, from a direction that you weren't expecting it. It might not be the friends that you've been socializing with, because they enjoy socializing, but they're not as into supporting somebody through troubles. And one of the benefits of troubles is it's a great opportunity to find out who your true friends are. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things that you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you don't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend, and I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Well, if there is a load that you have to bear and you can't carry, I'm right up the road and I'll share that load. If you just call me, call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I might have a problem, you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we only know there's always tomorrow. Lean on me. If you're not strong, I'll be your friend, and I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Thank you.
Back. All right. So now is our prosperity time. And here at CSL Tahoe-Truckee, we know that God is our infinite, always reliable source for our center and for each of us as individuals. And so your donations to the center are one way that you can support our center and our vision of embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. You know, we're excited about diving deeper and experiencing spiritual transformation and being a part of this shift that's occurring in the world, starting right here. Divine love and wholeness is the truth of who we are and of the planet. So thank you for your loving support. And if you would take your offering, hold it over your heart, and repeat with me our prosperity affirmation. I gratefully and joyfully share my offering, which flows from God, my infinite source. My gift blesses this center and all who are guided, healed, and empowered by its activities. All I share with life returns to me blessed and multiplied.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And so we are grateful for these generous offerings, and the love that is shared with this center, and for all that supports us and that infinite source, that the law of circulation that supports this planet, our center, and all of life. We know that our community is prospered by that divine life energy that is flowing through us all. And it is good. Thank you. Thank you. And so it is. Okay, well, I want to welcome any guests that are visiting with us here this morning. I'm not quite sure who's online, but we're grateful that each one of us is here with us today. And I want to invite all of you to join us for our hospitality time after service. If you're here in the sanctuary, we have some goodies that are there for you. I know Marty Mosier and Shirley helped put some things together for this morning. And also I want to thank Karen Heine for Zoom hosting this morning. It's it seems like it's a really simple task, but I want to tell you that it is not. And she needs all of her intelligence and teacher skills and mostly patience and determination to make it all look as wonderful as it does. So thank you, Karen. Also, you can find all the announcement details in the Zoom links on our webpage and on our Constant Contact email newsletter, Instagram page, and our Facebook page. So we're really trying to be 21st century here. Next week, we are starting the June theme, which is Living Everyday Wonder, the Body. And the talk will be entitled, Welcome to the Temple. I will be speaking here along with Practitioner Michael Brandman. Our musicians will be Jared and Shauna Namaste. The video recordings of our full Sunday service and the minister's talk are normally uploaded, they're uploaded to our website and the YouTube channel. This week is going to be by Tuesday because we'll be celebrating Memorial Day tomorrow. You can also check out our updated website, tahoecsl.org. One of the things that you might want to check there for is our CSL e-bikes group. This week, the ride on Tuesday, May 31st, it starts at 11 a.m. near Lakeshore Drive and Tahoe Boulevard for a ride to Sand Harbor and along the incline lakefront. And there's a map of that location that's in the newsletter and on the website. The E-Squared class, this is the second week that's coming up. That's on Tuesday night, May 31st from 6 to 8. It's a 10-week class, but it's based on the best-selling book by Pam Brandman called E-Squared, 9 Do-It-Yourself Energy Experiments That Prove that your thoughts create your reality. It's what we believe in metaphysics, science of mind. So Brenda Haldorn, one of our practitioners, is facilitating the class. It costs $100, but there's still time to join the class. And if you get the book now, you can even be caught up in time for for the class on Tuesday. The class is set up that each week is a separate experiment. And so if you miss one week because you're on vacation or doing whatever you want to do in the summer, you can come to the next week and be totally, it'll be just fine. So it's one reason we picked that class for the summer. But it's a great class, and we had a lot of fun this week. So it's best experienced in person, but we'll also accommodate someone on Zoom if you contact us in advance. On June 4th, Saturday, Reverend Karen Lindsley's Play Shop From Ick to Joy is taking place in Washoe Valley. They have some burros and horses that are going to be helping them out, and some horse therapists and specialists. So that's an experience. You can go to her website, KarenLindsley.com, to sign up. We had our Adopt a Highway cleanup was a great success last week, and the next one will be June 18th, so plan ahead for that. It's a Saturday from 9 to 12. And we also have our ongoing drop-in classes that are all online right now. We think that Chris Worcester's Tai Chi class is going to restart on June, so this Thursday, June 2nd. Mary McAneeny's online Thursday meditation continues this week, and that's on Thursdays starting at 4:30 and meditation at 5. And then Sue Pipel's book study on the Course of Love is on Friday evening, 6:30. So great group. So next we have our children's affirmation. And knowing our lovely children, repeat with me. We see you, we hear you, we love you. You are a gift from God, and so it is. All right. And last but certainly not least is our practitioners. And so Carol Delvon is the online practitioner if you want to contact her through the chat. And here in the sanctuary we have Nancy O'Neill is here, Michael Brandman sitting next to her, and I'm also a practitioner. So if you need prayer, there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the world, and maybe just in your personal life, please ask for prayer, and we would love to pray with you. And you can also make an appointment for a longer session, and our contact information for the practitioners is on our hospitality table next to the prayer request box. All right, so if you would stand, we'll join in a circle for our closing song, A Blessing to the World, and for our affirmation. Should we go through it twice? Yeah, but we'll do our affirmation first. Okay. My sadness is formed to gladness through love.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth. And who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth. And who you are, and all you do is a blessing to